Hello, folks, right here at 6:30. Welcome to Examine Bud Light. Well, now there's the logo that will soon be on it.
No more. No
No,
more.
to say goodbye to those little crescent moon swishes.
Oh, it's gonna look like the old Bud Light cans, correct?
Similar, but not exactly.
You know, guys, what's amazing? I'm sorry to interrupt, but what's amazing? Ever since the Miller Lite can made its debut in Anchorman 2, whatever it was, all of a sudden now the influx of these retro cans are starting to flood back to the market again.
Well, Miller made a lot of money off of it, so then everybody wanted to do it. Really, if you remember, it was Bush that did it first with their retro label.
Mm.
And then
Right.
it was popular. I didn't really love it, but so then Miller said, well, because remember Bush went to this. I prefer
Right.
their more modern label, but and now it's like everybody wants to be retro. And I guess you could say Genesee started it because they went back to their 1960 Genesee cream ale can design. So I think they kind of started it in a way. Now, excuse me, I have allergy problems. There's that pine. All this dust and air from the pine trees is tearing me up.
Absolutely.
It's like runny. Your eyes are watering and whatnot. Okay, now pray for North Louisiana. They're getting a lot of rain. Well, actually, this huge rainstorm. If you look at it, this huge rainstorm stretches from Ohio to Mexico. I mean, it's incredible. All right, now back to yes. Okay. 110 calories. Looking at tap into your beer. 4.2% alcohol. Introduced in 1982 as Budweiser Light, but fairly quickly changed to Bud Light because everybody was calling it Bud. Now we have myself from Louisiana Beer Reviews. We have Jean H. Pierre, the Beer and TV Ramble from Alabama, and we have Eric from Massachusetts and Nate from Massachusetts.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, John's on his fourth can. Things could go awry. All right.
Woo!
At least we're not drinking Hurricane High Gravity tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
25 ounces, baby.
Things would already be awry. Now, I never really was a fan of light beers early.
On a day like this today, Jay, I needed this.
I got you. Now, when I don't know what your experience is. When I first started drinking beer, I didn't like light beer, and I like craft beers. And so I had to sort of learn to like light beers. And Miller Lite's the beer that kept me off of beer for 10 years, which may be a good thing because I was 18 and I didn't start until I was 27, almost 28. So I remember drinking Miller Lite at my father's house because you could drink at 18 when I was 18. So I was thinking, this is no good. Something missing. It didn't taste like beer used to taste when I was a little kid. And then, of course, I wasn't making the connection.
Yeah.
But no, I did not become a light beer fan. Okay, don't get me wrong. I just learned to not hate it and talk bad about it and always try to tell people when they were drinking it that they shouldn't be drinking it.
Yeah, it's not your place to tell them what to drink or
Yeah,
whatever.
I used to be like that. So enjoy the can. Now we're going to talk about can collecting. We're going to talk about can collecting later in promotionals because it's not going to be too complicated to examine this beer. Made with water, barley malt, rice, and yeast. They use rice as the adjunct. You can only be a part of the Bud or Bud Light family if you use rice. If you use corn, you get expelled from the family like Bud Ice.
Yeah.
Or a Hurricane or King Cobra, which probably use
But
corn.
wait, what's this? Oh wait, you might have to put your earphones because there's an echo, Jean. No, but
Okay.
yeah, it's definitely coming in from Jean's area.
All right.
No, even if you're called Bub, fix it, Eric. We'll unmute you in a little bit. Even if you're called Bud, you can't be part of the Budweiser family if you use corn like Bud Ice. So that wasn't the policy previously, but they adopted this idea that it had to be rice only. Oh well. I'm sure all of y'all have had Bud Light before, and Nate K said he had to go to. I said, "Did you have trouble finding it?" He said, "I had to go to one whole store."
Oh, I was gonna say Brockton, Mass, where he lives, is a pretty urban town, so I can't imagine a major beer brand being hard to find.
Or like anywhere in the Boston area, for that matter.
Like anywhere in the world, basically, you're gonna find. He had to go to one whole store, but now these people that live next door to me, they look at me as like really weird because of these beers that I drink, all these different beers.
Oh.
Because they're like major Bud Light fans. They're probably over there right now drinking Bud Light, and they drink it at a much higher volume than beer I drink. You know, the amount of beer I drink.
Yeah.
To them, this man and his wife and their friends that come over, this is like the greatest beer. Okay, so they look down and it's like, why would you drink other stuff if you could be drinking Bud Light? It's funny.
I like other stuff too.
No, but they just can't conceive of it.
I mean, this is a perfect example of a type of a beer and a beer style that almost like, you know, with Coke or Pepsi or whatever other kind of soda you like, you sort of found your brand and you just stick that way because either you're not such a big beer connoisseur or you just don't really care about beer that much to really search around for a better beer. You just sort of are in that one camp that you like that one beer.
It's so universally popular anyways. I don't know if it's marketing or if maybe it's just a universally acceptable flavor. But like I said, my girlfriend's college had those shirts that were mocked up for their spring concert or whatever. And they had like the Bud Light logo with the college name in the middle of it instead.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, when I went to Houston last year for the big tour, I was shocked because I didn't realize they had a Anheuser-Busch brewery in Houston since 1893. I said, wow. You know, I didn't realize it, but that was less than 20 years after Budweiser was introduced. But tasting the Bud Light out of the aging tank, fresh and really cold. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Really cold, man. It was great. Plus, I was thirsty and kind of. It was like the end of the tour, and the tour was like 2 hours long, so I was like really in a mood for it. But typically, I wouldn't buy it, and because I don't buy light beer. I'm not saying I would single Bud Light out not to buy. I find it's just about as good as all the rest. Some people will say, "I hate Bud Light." I'm like, I don't. To me, they taste mostly the same. You get some of the inferior ones, then you get some of the questionable ones. Yeah, like Frio Light or the store brand. Private label.
Kirkland's Light, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. $2.99 on a store brand 6-pack of cans. Yeah, you're paying.
How much?
You're getting exactly what you pay for at that price.
Yeah, Kirkland's Light. I think at the Costco, that's the only brand that Kirkland beers that we get here in Mobile. I think it was 48 cans for $22.
Holy hell!
You know, I said, wow, that's a great buy. Yeah, but it's not a good beer.
Then you drank it, and it made Bud Light taste as good as West Lateran 12.
Maybe.
Or St. Bernardus Abbot 12. Now, okay. Well, guys, let's examine the beer. So we'll go up north first to Nate, because Nate jumped on first. And we don't really have to, I think, spend any time in people's lives, including our own, to talk about the appearance because we know what it's going to look like. Straw with a white head and bubbles.
Yeah. The only reason it looks any different on mine is I think the cup has a little bit of a tint to it. But,
yeah, the glass is tinted. But it's going to be clear. I mean, we all know what light, American-style light lagers look like. So what about the aroma? I'm going to try to get... I can smell, but my nose is a little messed up from all of this pollen in the air. It was 80 degrees today. Okay, Nate,
I'd say it's got a very mild kind of clean aroma. Like nothing. I guess now I'm getting like some a little bit of like malt presence, but it's all very light. I'm sure that's light beers in general.
Yeah, and I was reading about how when they market products, they don't use terms like thin beer.
Mm-hmm.
Or, for food too, they won't say thin, they'll say light, diet. But
Yeah,
it is
and
beer.
they'll use words to describe the beer such as smooth, clean, and refreshing. Those are 3 words you'll see all the time with adjunct beers and light lagers.
And that's the framing effect.
Mm-hmm.
To try to persuade people, you frame it in a certain way. You won't say Bud Light is really dull and it's
Right.
inoffensive. Like, I think it was Nate K. No, who was it that said it's probably the most inoffensive beer in the world? Was that you, Nate, that said that?
Might have been.
What beer is this? Bud Light?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one. There was like another one we did that I said something like that.
Somebody was on Facebook was putting comments, and he said
Well, maybe that was it.
it's the most inoffensive beer. Yeah, so they're not going to market it like drink Bud Light is pretty inoffensive and dull. No, they're going to market it like join the Bud Light party.
It doesn't suck that bad.
Join the Bud Light party and be cool like all the cool people. Because you can be like the cool kids. So this is where it's at. And then you have all the can designs and the bottle designs and and Bud Light is like almost like its own brand today because they got Bud Light Lime and Bud Light Lime-A-Rita.
Clover? Didn't they do a Bud Light Clover or something like that, or Golden Wheat or something?
Yes, the
failed.
Yeah, and then the Bud Light Lime-A-Ritas and the Star-Ritas.
Mm-hmm.
Today I was at a store today and I saw they just came out with Bud Light Lime. Now this is called Bud Light Lime Margarita Splash.
Huh.
What?
Bottles. It's in bottles, and it's only 4% alcohol. It's Bud Light Margarita Splash, watermelon Margarita Splash, orange flavor. There's a whole bunch of flavors. I was looking at the bottles. I said, "Oh boy, this will never end." So
I've heard of one that Lee Russell has reviewed up in Canada. I think it was called Bud Light Apple.
they've got it on their website for the U.S. website, so it's got to be around the U.S.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Sounds like something I would never want to drink.
Yeah.
Now, Eric, what about your aroma?
I'm not getting typical to the light beer style in general. I'm talking about in general. I'm not really getting a whole bunch of smell. I'm having in the Bud Light cup that says "Perfect beer for Patriots fans." With my 50th anniversary Super Bowl can, limited edition, it says. I'm not really getting a whole bunch of aroma, but the aromas that I'm getting are sort of a paperiness, maybe. I don't want to say like a wet cardboard or like a wet basement or cellar, that kind of a grainy smell, but that's kind of what I'm getting, a very light bready malt and an even fainter hop or a light grassy note. That's really about it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the light beer style or the adjunct style to me kind of has that wet paper or wet cardboard or husky kind of a scent sometimes. And that's this beer to me.
Then I'll give you mine, and then we'll go to Jean. It's just like a standard aroma. It's not, yeah. It's not really like bold or bursting with aroma. It's like you would expect it to be. Very thin, like Nate was saying, very narrow on the aroma. But it's nothing bad like you think. Like with that Kirkland Light John was talking about, you're saying, wait, it has interesting aromas, but they don't seem correct. A light beer shouldn't have all these odd characteristics. But this does not have any. It's pretty much just like it's supposed to be.
It's the
We
stereotypical beer.
Yeah, it's very hard to brew, and we already talked about how their quality control is astronomical. Now, the counter argument that some people will make when they comment on my videos is like, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. You always bragging on quality control, and that doesn't mean the beer is good. That's true. It could be that they just take questionable product and always make it the same. But that's why we're examining it. But I think quality control is important. But it's not the whole bag. It's not the whole game. But it's a big part of it. We look at the quality control problem that did crop up with Bourbon County barley wine. I went and cashed my check yesterday. I finally got it in the mail.
Was it a good amount? Just enough to get some more?
It's $11. It was $11, and
I guess one or two.
Hey. Yeah.
It's $11, and I'm going to keep my deal. They said, well, if we send you the money, would you promise to go and buy the 2016 barley wine and give it a review? I said, yeah. Now, that's if I can find the doggone stuff.
Right. It's not your fault if you don't find it. No.
But I think I know where I can pick it up. Anyway, Jean, what about your aroma assessment?
I mean, it smells like your standard light lager, you know, right? And as Eric said, I'm not really getting much of a smell. Just a little, but, you know, little rice, but, you know, standard lager, you know, scent as you would, you know, with half the stuff that Bud has in there.
Yeah, when I went over
I mean, with Budweiser, excuse me, and that's why it's called Budweiser Light. So.
Mm-hmm. And when I went over to the brewery, the lady took me into all these different rooms, and I said, "Oh," she said, "Now they got the rice over there cooking, and over here's the barley." I said, "Wait a minute! I thought they just threw them in there all together." "Oh no!" She said, "Oh no, they're separate until a later stage. So they got the rice cooking separately." And I said, "Oh, okay." And then I saw these bags, you know, laying around it. These huge bags, barley, rice, you know. So that was something to see. But cost $30 to go on that tour. Now, although I could have gone for $25, I didn't realize that you could just buy the ticket at the, you know, you could walk up and buy the ticket for $25.
I did in New Hampshire.
Instead of paying $4.99 extra to have the ticket, you know what I mean? Like what do you call it? Ticketmaster.
Yeah, to print it out at your house or to have it sent to your house.
Yeah, because they were making it like, oh, you don't want to get caught coming over here and the tours are booked. Well, of course,
right.
I did not want that to happen. But when I went on the 10:30 in the morning tour, and I was the only person there, so it certainly wasn't booked.
First private tour.
Yep, that's true. Now, if I'd have gone to the 12:30 or the 2:30 afternoon tour, it might have really been crowded. Okay, anyway, now the taste. Back to Nate.
Everybody.
Let's go to Nate, and then we'll go to Eric, and then myself, and then Jean, for no particular reason.
Why don't we go to Eric first, actually, because I have to crack open another one.
Okay.
I'm kind of in that same boat with you, Nate. I need This will be my sixth can.
I mean, I
bought
can
a
describe it. I can describe what I.
Wait a minute. You know, wait. Hold on a second. I want to just put a disclaimer in this video.
Woo!
I do not condone heavy drinking. I only drink 22 to 24 beers. I'm talking about average of 12-ounce cans per week. So do not think that the fact that other people joining me are out of control that's a reflection upon what my channel.
My thought process is I don't have to get a whole six-pack or 12 or 30-pack, and I have a lot to sample to get the actual taste of the beer. And the actual taste of the beer, now that Nate will allow me to go and explain it, is the one thing that I noticed that's sticking out to me with the Bud Light. And we've mentioned it before on this channel, and Jay's mentioned it a number of times himself on his own channel, that really there's nothing that can be quite as dry as a Bud Light dry. And I think that that's a very accurate statement. I think this whole beer is extremely dry and extremely clean in the finish, to the point where once it dries up in the mouthfeel, you almost don't have any taste, you know, in your mouth left of the actual beer. It's a very thin and watery beer, and it ends very thin and watery. But there's nothing
Uh-huh.
I guess there's a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of the graininess with that sort of that ricey,
George Lee?
kind of smoothness. But
Yeah, what's
besides
up?
that, I don't really
What's up?
notice much about the beer. But I will end my statement by saying, because there's not much there,
Okay.
at
Got some
least
water in
it's
the
not
fridge.
an offensive flavor that's
I'll be
there.
done with this
That's-
conference soon.
Okay, keep going. Jean's something's he's being exercised by
So that's what I'll say. I mean, there's not much there, and it finishes quickly and dry, but it's not offensive what's there. So I think when you go to your budget beers and your store brands and your Hurricane high gravity lagers for a lot cheaper than $2.39 a 25-ounce can, you're gonna do a lot worse. But you're buying a beer like Hurricane for its alcohol percentage, not for its exquisite flavors.
right.
That's what I'll say. Not good and not extraordinary, so just middle road beer.
Now,
I just think kind of sensitive to voices.
very sensitive, Jean.
I'm very sorry. I'm sorry about that, guys. I got people here, so you know, all is good. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're gonna mute you until you talk, okay?
Okay.
And that is not for any reason except that
I understand. I understand.
I bet Nate's got a plethora of tasting notes to tell the audience about.
probably does. Go ahead, Nate.
A plethora. I don't want to disappoint you guys.
What is a plethora?
I don't know. You know what? The interesting part is that being able to start a new one actually it does taste a little bit different at the start of it, I think, as opposed to the very last sip of it. There definitely seems to be a lot more flavor at the top than there is at the bottom. I can taste a little bit of the there's almost like a little bit of a bitterness in the top part of it. Very, very slight. It might just be the carbonation hitting my tongue just the right way, but when I get down to that last very, very watery kind of sip, there's not any of it left. There's hardly even any carbonation at that point.
Would you agree with the bros on Beer Advocate where they say that this kind of just tastes like seltzer water with alcohol added to it?
Nah, I think there's another one that we did that I said actually tasted exactly like that, and it wasn't this one. This one actually has something else going on it. It's like if it's like seltzer water, it's like polar seltzer water with something good in it, you know. So it's got like extra flavoring in it, but definitely not like regular seltzer water.
Right.
Yeah, I think that comment was a little extreme, but I remember I used to run with that comment. Like I would say, "Oh yeah, you know, it's like seltzer water," and but that was just I was being offhand about it. Like, you know, you hear people say it, so you just go along with it. Now I'm going to taste it, and I think there's, like Nate's saying, there's more to it. There's not a lot more to it, but there's more to it. Yeah, and I'll drink this once every 3 months at Bingo, because when I work at Bingo, I only have 3 choices: Miller Lite, Coors Light, and Bud Light. Wow, so many great differences there. Haha. But you've got your Coors Light faction, your Bud Light faction, and your Miller Lite faction, and they do not cross line. You know, they're like Amway. They don't cross line, so they got to keep all 3 in the fridge or they'll have like major problems breaking out. And I made the error of showing up with something that wasn't those 3 one time, and it was like a big scandal. Anyway, now yeah, it's got a little flavor, and it's a beer flavor, and I think everybody knows what the stereotypical beer flavor in America is. It's clean, it's crisp, it's pleasant. You know, obviously I'm going to drink Budweiser over this any day of the week, but I can see why it's popular, and I don't think it's just marketing, and I don't think it's just people in the world being a bunch of idiots. But like Greenleaf pointed out yesterday, he said just because of beer, he was saying you're using faulty logic because you're saying that since it's popular, that means it's good. It wasn't actually what I was saying, but it was sort of what I was saying. But what I was really saying was that I didn't think it could be extremely popular and be horrible.
Right.
Because he was using McDonald's hamburgers as an example. He said just because McDonald's hamburgers are the most popular hamburgers in America doesn't make them good. I said, yeah, but, you know, Nate says millions of idiot college students can't be wrong. Okay, Nate. No, but what I was saying is I've had McDonald's hamburgers many times. I think they're okay. I mean, I think they're all right. I don't hate them. I don't think they're horrible. Obviously, I would rather go to Port of Call on Esplanade Avenue in New Orleans and get one of their hamburgers. They're going to be $9 or $10. Or I could go to Ye Old College Inn on Carrollton and get one. Yeah, it's going to cost a lot more. What? Yeah. So, same thing with beer. You want to go big time, then you better pay big time. Bud Light is not big time, and you know, like I used to say, ultra gourmet. But it's fine for what it is. You know, picnics, everyday drinking like next door, or even if I did it here, and I'm not picking on them next door because they like it. So, and they are not problem drinkers; they're hobbyists and or enthusiasts.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it's fine. You know, my father used to drink Coors Light. I mean, that stuff is just like this, kind of dull, but it's not bad. I mean, come on, it's not bad.
I found, and I know that Jay probably has as well, which gave me the idea really to do it. I found that when I did on my Thomas Metal 75 beer review channel of YouTube, when I did my Bud Light, Miller Light, and Coors Light blind taste challenge that I had one of my parents set up for me to do, and then I tried to guess which ones they were. As I was saying on our little Google Plus chat to ourselves here, that I instantly knew when I saw Miller Lite, it looked like it had a little bit more head and a little bit more lacing, so I knew what Miller Lite was going to be, and it smelled that way and it tasted that way, and I screwed up which one was Bud Light and which one was Coors Light, and I think that's a testament not only to, you know, those breweries and how they are at quality control making beers, but I think it's a testament to how well that they have that American style of light lager down to a T. And I know that, and I've read it before, and I think it was on a Beer Advocate article, and I can't recall it, so I apologize, but some of these craft brewers and head brewmasters are really sort of secret closet lager, adjunct lager, and light beer fans because they're almost jealous on how much they can drink a Bud Light 15 years ago and then 30 years later in the future, and then that Bud Light, if it's still brewed 30 years later, will taste the same.
Yeah, and look, and a lot of these craft beer people, they do not have an axe to grind. They're not insecure, and they're not like troublemakers. Like Sonny Day, I know him personally. I mean, we're not good friends, but I mean, I'm an acquaintance with him, and I've talked to him personally. He's a brewmaster for Gordon Biersch. Okay, well, he's always brewing oatmeal stouts and Kolsch and all of that. So he knows what great beer is. But we were talking about Budweiser. He said Budweiser is a really good beer. He said people recognize that. And I have that book called The Craft Beer Revolution by Steve Hindy, and he was saying that is just a myth that there's just great animosity from the craft beer people towards, I'm talking about the brewers, towards beers like we're drinking. It wasn't that they were going to make this revolution to overthrow the industry. They were just trying to do something different. And then we go back to that story about Samuel Adams' Boston Lager. He said the book was talking about how that's where the animosity started in 1985 because there was like a lot of cooperation and friendship among the big boys and the little boys. And then Jim Cook. The guy, yeah, it was like they drove this wedge and it started all this like animosity that's been going on for 31 years. But the book, if you read the book, and I've read it, he said it was not that was not the case, and it just and it irritated the craft beer people because they were telling him, they were saying, you're starting a war that didn't need to exist. It's like no one was into this.
And look at this, Jay. Look at this. Jim Cook is sitting at the table. He's at the same table right now with Bud and Miller and Coors. He's shaking hands. He's making all the decisions. If you look at the sales of Boston Beer Company, Samuel Adams, all their beers and how their distribution is across the country.
Yep.
He's sitting at the table with all those guys right now.
Right, right. And if you read that book, it's about the craft beer, the development of craft beer for the last 45 years. But if you read it carefully, it's almost like a backhand attack on Boston Beer Company and how, in their opinion, they created a lot of animosity that never needed to exist. But anyway, back to this.
No. And most of these craft guys, like I said, I just posted it, they'll drink the Steel Reserve, they'll drink the King Cobras, they'll drink the Bud Lights and the Budweisers because they like beer, just like me, just like you.
Yeah, they may not drink Kirkland like the...
Hey, no.
Right.
Or even Milwaukee's Classic or Camel Ice, even that. No.
I mean, you know, those are just like obviously bad beers. No, they're not popular because they're horrible and people hate them.
I don't go too much on a tangent, but the way that book sounds like it describes Sam Adams and all these craft guys having factions, or not factions, but trying to have wars with macro beers. It kind of reminds me, and maybe Nate could agree with that, even a general music fan maybe. It just reminds me of the music industry and trying to be in a band and start a band where not everybody's going to like you. And you don't have to try to be like Bud Light. You don't have to try to be the most popular musical style possible. But if people like you and what you do, and people like the kind of beers that you brew and what you do, and they're really listening to you and they really like your product, they're going to continue to support it. You're going to become bigger and bigger and bigger, and one day you could become a force to be reckoned with. But
right. You may never be right. You may never be Led Zeppelin, but you might be Sparks.
Yeah, and if you have a really good beer company that's local to you that has really big success in your town and your area, well, that's a step in whatever the right direction may be. But I think it's a good step to be in, a good place to be in.
One more thing about that book, which I recommend. And remember, this is only one guy's viewpoint, so I'm not like following him all the way and saying, oh, he's got to be right. I don't know this guy, but he was saying they actually had a fight. They had a fight in a room, and they had to break it up. They started fighting, you know, but like literally fighting. But so there's a lot of bad blood with them guys. Now, would you buy it again? Okay, I would not buy it again, but that doesn't mean anything because I wouldn't buy light beer in general again. So that's no particular animosity towards Bud Light. It's just I wouldn't buy light beer unless I had some friends coming over that I knew they love Bud Light. I'd be like, oh, let me buy it. But at least I wouldn't be stuck with it because you know, a Bud Light drinker, they're gonna drink all of it. You know what I mean? They ain't gonna leave any in the fridge. You know what I mean?
True.
They're gonna take it all. Now, because I've brought craft beers and specialty beers to outings, and guess who ends up with all of it? Me, because nobody will drink it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, you brought Guinness. Ugh, why didn't you bring Bud Light? So, and then I brought Michelob, and they were like, and some of them drank it.
I've seen that face exactly to Michelob. Mm-hmm.
Same face that you saw, Jay, is that it was a parade during Mardi Gras. I bought a 24-pack of Coors Banquet. And guess what? They were drinking that as much as they were drinking Bud Light. They didn't give a crap. And I said, I bought the beer. I said, here. And all of a sudden, hey, you got any more beer, Jane? I said, yeah, in my cooler. Of course, okay, what is this? Okay, this beer.
What is
they drank it, because they love Bud Light. Wait,
now. Coors Banquet is a little more standard.
Right.
If you showed up with Guinness, you might have gotten some bad looks. Because I went to this Mardi Gras.
Yingling, I've gotten some bad looks.
Mardi Gras party. I went to this Mardi Gras party in New Orleans a few years ago. I mean, they were just looking at me like, no, it was actually a birthday party. But they were like, why couldn't he, they're all like major Bud Light drinkers. So I thought, I'll bring Guinness, Just because it's boring to bring the same stuff. And occasionally you might actually meet somebody that would appreciate it. But they were just thinking, oh, man, And you just take it back home because if you leave, obviously that's rude. You're supposed to leave the beer there. But they're not going to drink it. They're going to throw it out. I'm telling you, I promise you, these people were not going to drink it. And like Carrie told me.
Or they'll give it to their friends.
Yeah, Carrie said, you may as well take it back home because I guarantee you no one's going to drink it. And I knew that Guinness was going to stay in their fridge till it was in the back of the fridge till it was like 10 years old and be no good, and they were going to pour it out. So, I mean, that's stupid. I may as well take it home. So here's the rule. If you want people to drink your beer at a barbecue or a Mardi Gras parade or a party, bring Bud Light.
Bud Light, Miller Lite.
If you want them to make an ugly face, bring Guinness or pure hoppiness from Alpine Brewing.
Oh yeah.
Bring bring anything that's not standard. Bring Pumpkinhead during October, and they'll still say Pumpkinhead.
Yes, bring 120-minute IPA to a party, but you're only going to bring one bottle, so that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah. So now the last part of this, and I know y'all. I don't know if anybody else would buy this on a regular basis. So if you will, speak up or forever hold your can.
No, I don't. I don't buy this on a regular basis. I tend to get Milwaukee's Best. This is for me personally. If I'm going to a barbecue or cookout, I bypass Bud Light. I bring Miller Lite.
You know what I found?
And if I'm really penny pinching, I'll bring Natural Light.
You know what I found pretty crazy? It must have been last week, I guess it was. Or no, we did a Monday. We did a Monday, Jay and John, Sharon and I, of that Keystone Light. And that had a lot of, I say a lot of flavor. Not really, but I mean, it had tons and tons of body and flavor for what's considered an American-style light lager. So I would definitely buy that beer way more than I would buy Bud Light. If not for the sole fact that it's cheaper than Bud Light, again, it had a heftier feel. It had a heftier feel to it, and it's not really much of a different alcohol percentage than this.
Oh, but good grief! Don't bring it to a barbecue and everybody. Because my father had this friend, but they're still friends. I can remember back in 1996 when I first started drinking beer as a hobby, not as a problem, folks.
Yes.
Because I don't have a problem. Yeah. Can't wait till 6 o'clock tomorrow morning to start drinking. Now, anyway, so this guy, Warren, he would bring Natural Light. They were going to watch the baseball game. He'd bring Natural Light. My daddy said, look at him. He brings Natural Light, that cheap bastard. Excuse my language, but that's how my daddy talks. All right. I say, Daddy, I'm telling you right now, that Natural Light is just as good as that Bud Light, and it's going to cost $4 or $5 less per suitcase. So you're wrong, and Warren is right. And he always drank Natural Light, and that's back in the old days when they had that cool-looking can. And my daddy was like, yeah, it's cheap. I'll say, you go ahead and pay your premium price for Coors Light when you could just as soon buy Keystone. It's like, I wouldn't drink that. And I was like, you wouldn't even be able to tell them apart in a blind taste test. But that's the generalized attitude, So it's like, oh, my Lord, he's bringing Milwaukee's Best Light. Well, Milwaukee's Best Light has a lot more character than most major light beers. Sorry, excuse me. Hate to upset you. But now, the last part of this discussion. These companies, right, they're selling products that are almost identical, right?
Almost.
I talk about this in the economics class. So when you're selling products that are like almost identical, how do you differentiate? It can't be with taste. That won't work. So what do? Cans, labeling, collectibles, and that moves a lot of beer. Look at Coors; they change their labels every 2 weeks.
Well, you know what the marketing is with Bud Light. It's practically every year. The biggest year for Bud Light's got to be the Super Bowl. It has to be the Super Bowl. They seem like, I don't know that for a certain fact, but they seem like they spend all their time and effort to get those big buck ads on the Super Bowl so they can try to make the money, because they know that if it's the best-selling beer in America, well, that's the best time that people are going to buy the beer, during the Super Bowl.
And look, they have major collectors. I call them hoarders, but I can't say too much because look behind me. But like,
people
want to have every Bud Light can. Super Bowl, World Series, NHL Championship, College World Series. I don't care what it is. They want every can. Do you know that Bud Light made a can for each NFL team last year?
This past year for the NFL, going for the 50th edition of the Super Bowl. Yep.
And these people want all of it. They want the Mardi Gras cans. Do you know in New Orleans every year they have Bud Light Mardi Gras cans?
Yep. In this area too, Mobile.
Yeah, and do you know that for Miller High Life they had special Louisiana Heritage Series cans?
Does that
People go crazy over collecting this stuff.
Does that mean that the marketability and the way that Anheuser-Busch markets Bud Light far exceeds the actual product of Bud Light?
Okay.
Like they're trying to make up for the product of Bud Light by having better and greater campaign ads?
No. The product is fine. Okay, if you want to drink a good light beer and you buy Bud Light, you're not going to go wrong. I think y'all agree with that.
Yeah.
I know people that would fight with you if you said they're stupid for drinking Bud Light. And maybe they should fight with you, because who are you to tell them what to drink? Okay?
Canadians.
I'm saying that the market,
that
market segment, which is mass-produced American-style light, lager, and lager, there's not a big difference in the range of taste, right? The standard deviation is like this. See what I'm doing right there?
Yep. Up and down.
So these people that say, oh, Steel Reserve 6%, it's way different than King Cobra 6%. It ain't real different at all. It's almost identical. So how do you get people to buy a product when you're selling basically the same thing as Coors and Miller? You do cans, you do collectibles, you do promotionals, you sponsor. I go to these college baseball games and Major League. You sponsor games. You sponsor car races. You sponsor concert tours. Well, heck, what else you gonna do? That you can't say, "Oh, drink our beer; it's so much better." Nobody falls for that. Like Miller saying, our Miller Lite is triple hopped.
Right.
Did that attract any light beer people? No. The craft beer people laughed at it. So it's triple hopped. It's triple hopped, but so what? That's not why people drink light beer, because it's triple hopped or because it's. Am I making any sense here in this rant?
Yeah. Again, it's more of the marketing aspect than.
That is called
I
a rant.
It wouldn't really. I think what you're trying to say. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it wouldn't really make much sense if, in trying to describe the aroma, the appearance, and the flavor of the beer of these light beers, and even a lot of adjunct lagers brewed in America, Mexico, or Canada, it wouldn't really make much sense to try to explain the aspects of the beer if they're all going to say the same exact thing. What else can they do in their marketing?
Right. And if you look at all our examinations back 2 years ago with all these regular beers, you're going to notice like we're saying the same thing every time. So, and some people laugh at that and they make fun, and I understand. They'll say, "Oh Lord, they're going to examine Miller Lite for the 12th time." I understand that because it's like you're watching Hill Street Blues season 1, episode 3 for the 18th time. Okay. So, I mean, we recognize that. We understand that we're caught up in that. But the point is that they do the marketing and the label and the collectible cans. That's the differentiation. It's not the actual product. If you want differentiation, go to your local store and buy the store brand. Go to Whole Foods and buy Gold Mine Light. Go buy Kirkland Light. Then you'll get something different. It'll be bad. Or if you want to step up, if you want to pay up and not be a cheapskate, get Sam Adams Light, which nobody could find. That's why we're doing Bud Light.
Amstel Light, you know.
Amstel Light's a good light beer. I forgot about that one. Absolutely it is.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Get Amstel Light. Get Heineken Light. Some people buy Heineken Light. Heineken Light's popular. Yeah, it's way better. That's why. Get Vita Light.
I was watching the other day, I think it was actually yesterday, I was watching our good friend Ethan from Ethan's Beer Reviews, and he was putting up a couple of videos on his channel from his little segment called Who Brewed It Better, and you know, he takes two of the similar beers, he blind tastes them, he picks which one he likes better, but he prefaces this thing, which makes sense to us, which is he says this is just my opinion. It is not may not be your opinion, and it may not. My opinion may not even align with yours. But this is just my opinion. And with all these examinations or any beer review you'll ever see online, including from myself and Jay and John, they're just our opinions. Take it as a grain of salt, and it's a good place to go. It's a good place to start with if you don't know much about the beer or you want to, get somebody else's take on a beer.
Yeah, but I don't think it's opinions based on. I don't think it's opinions coming from fools. I think we do research, we do study, we drink enough. Now we have to do this to get credibility. So people say, "Oh, you drink a lot," only to get credibility. Now,
Yes.
Otherwise, well, we probably drink. I'd probably still drink 22 a week, or 24. But can you buy regular old ordinary beers at this price point or below that are going to have a lot more flavor? You surely can. You could buy Busch Signature Copper Lager if you ever find it. You could buy Ballantine IPA if you ever find it.
Yes, sirree. And the Ballantine Ale is really good.
I mean, this is considered, guys, premium light beer.
I'm sorry, excuse me, let me backtrack. I meant to say Ballantine Ale. You could buy, I'm looking through that, you could buy Busch Ice. You could buy Ice House. You could buy Mickey's Fine Malt Liquor. You could buy Schlitz. I can go to this store right here, it's still open, and get Schlitz tall cans, 16-ounce cans, for $4.99 a six-pack. Now that's got extra flavor.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good deal. I can't get Schlitz here in Alabama, period.
Doggone right, it's a good deal. And they got a few people that buy it, probably a bunch of 72-year-old men. Probably, they probably buy 4 6-packs a month. But so can you buy inexpensive beers that are going to have flavor? Yes, you can, but you got to know what you're doing. Don't try this at home, folks. Watch Massachusetts Beer Reviews.
Thank you.
Watch the Beer and TV Ramble. Watch Louisiana Beer Reviews. Watch.
Contact Nate on Facebook for answers.
I don't have any answers for anybody.
Oh.
And we will tell you which inexpensive beers to buy that will have flavor, that will have character, that will have a little.
Milwaukee's Best, which I may get this weekend and watch some games. It's supposed to be raining really hard in this area. I think you're supposed to get some of that too, Jay, if it hasn't already.
That's right. It's coming.
And
coming.
I know I have to work Saturday, but I'm trying to. We more than likely will be in Saturday, so I'll be watching a lot of basketball for the tournament.
Yeah, right. Milwaukee's Best Ice.
Yeah, I've never tried that.
Can't get that.
Never.
Gotta go up to Georgia.
I can sit here and just
Home in Jersey.
I can name dozens and dozens just off the top of my head. Now,
I really like Bud Ice.
Somebody might say, well, why don't you mention a bunch of craft beers? I would, but I'm giving you a list of inexpensive beers that have flavor. I didn't say a bunch of craft.
Exactly. But I think...
Go look at my fridge. I got a bunch of craft beers. Like Delirium Tremens Red. Excuse me. Thank you. How you feel, played? All right. What now, Eric?
I was sort of gonna sum this up, which is I think our consensus is anybody quote me if I'm wrong, but I think our consensus is we're just not huge light beer fans.
No.
We don't have a problem with the Bud Light beer, but I think what John was gonna say at one point was it's considered within the light beers. It's considered a premium beer at and so in that price range, you got to look at all the other kind of beers, I guess, including adjunct American lagers as well. You got to look at that price range and think to yourself, is this the beer that I want to buy? Is this the beer that I want to buy and choose to drink at that price range, or is there something else that I'd rather drink? Well, you have to be the educated, not educated really, but you have to be the sort of the consumer that knows enough about some of the major beer brands to be able to make that accurate judgment. But we're not going to say don't try this beer that it's bad, but we're just not really into this particular one and not really light beer fans in general.
No, but they got some people, Eric, that love light beer, and if you love light beer
and they want to be healthy, they love beer, but they want to be healthy, so this is what they drink.
If
Bud
you
Light.
right. If you love light beer, try this. You probably whoops.
There it is. You got it.
Right.
If you love light
Michelob
beer,
Light.
try this because this is one of the biggies. This is the Ohio State or the Notre Dame or the Southern California of light beer. Okay, Kirkland Light. Well, I'm gonna say somebody's school. And you'll get mad at me. No, I'm not gonna say somebody's school. So I can't. But you know what I mean. It's not. Never mind. All right. I mean, I'm thinking of some schools right now, but
Okay, how about this? Apex Tech or ITT Technical College.
Yeah.
I will not bite. But you know what I mean. Bud Light is one of the big boys, and do we love it? No, but we don't love the style, so it's irrelevant. It's like talking about the best sailboat, but you don't have a sail and you're not interested in sailboats, so it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyway, next week we're going in a whole different direction, and it's going to get so real and so drama.
Both of these beers are owned by InBev, by the way.
Right, and if you think InBev can't make good beer, which is ridiculous, but if you think that, we about to get so drama next week. We're going to Leffe Blonde.
I can get that with no problem here, so I'm excited to try that. It'll be my first time trying that beer.
Oh, man. And as the company says, they pronounce it Leffe Blonde.
The singular bottle in my town was $2.09.
Yeah, it was similar here. And then we're going to Tsingtao the week after.
I got a buddy of mine that's in China right now on business.
Tsingtao, which was recently acquired by Pabst, by the way.
What beer is that? The next one after Leffe Blonde?
Tsingtao.
Jingdao.
Chinese beer with a T.
Okay.
Like the lady at the Chinese restaurant told me, it's not Tsingtao, it's Jingdao. She got kind of aggravated with me. No, she was getting pretty irate that I said Tsingtao. She was like, it's Jingdao. I said, okay. Then we go on to Labatt Blue. Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah, the Blue Bombers, baby.
Right, Nate, Jingdao. And then, it's about to get so serious. You just don't know. You can't handle this. You cannot handle this.
Oh, Old Rasputin? Sweet.
Old Rasputin.
Fighting words.
Rogue Dead Guy Ale.
Mm.
And then back to the mass market.
Hi,
then back to the mass market, a Beta Amber.
I think we get that in at the Wines and More in Mansfield there, Nate.
And then Chimay Red, the Chimay Premier. Wow.
Sweet.
That might also be at Wines and More.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Poor Jean dropped off.
Yeah, he had too many Bud Lights, I guess, or something.
I think literally dropped off.
Like so many college students.
He fell into his computer phone. Okay, now, anyway, will Bud Light make you drunk? No, it will not. If you drink gallons of it, it will, though.
If you play flip cup and beer pong, which we don't do that, but it will make you drunk.
I don't. No. But it's evidenced by certain members of this panel, it can inebriate a person. Okay, now, thank you all for watching this. And I know it went on for almost an hour, but what's the purpose of rushing through it anyway? I don't see any purpose of it. So thank you for joining us. And we have a lot of exciting beer drinking to do this week. Well, maybe you don't. I know I do.
Cheers.
Cheers. And y'all take care and have a great week and a great weekend.
Y'all come down to Boston, Mass.
Or to Louisiana. Or to Alabama. And let's hope the rain isn't too bad because I already see people getting flooded out and I feel bad for them, you know.
We're getting rain tomorrow.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay, thanks, folks.
Hopefully, oh, Jay went bye-bye. Are we still on? Oh, it says we're still live. All right, beer people. Are we live, beer people?
Maybe it's your job here to end the call. I'm going to leave it, too.
This is Matchew's Beer Reviews. Nathaniel is leaving.
Oh, no, wait.
The Riot joined our live chat. Are we live? I think it says we're live.